Yo, everyone, and welcome to an I'm fanfic for you. We're back with a new story of what if Issei had a harem from Rosario vampire. But before we start, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more awesome contents. Now, let's start to part 1. Prologue. In a barren land in the underworld was a battle between a god and teenagers. The god in question was Loki, the god of mischief from the Nordic faction, and the teenagers were devils from the House of Gremory and the House of Sitri, 2 of 3 most influential families in the underworld, and an angel from heaven. Our protagonist, Issei Hyoudou, pawn of Ria's Gremory, son of Moka Hyoudou and Kuoh Hyoudou, Red Dragon Emperor of this generation and a pervert. Messy brown hair like his father's, chocolate eyes, skinny build, wearing the uniform from Kuoh Academy, the place where he is hated for peeping, and known as the enemy of all women, fighting against Loki and his balance breaker, a red dragon armor with various jewels on the arms, hands, chest and knees with golden spikes on the elbows and helmet on the cheeks and green eyes, fighting a wolf with Kaneko Taojo, a rook from Ria's Gremory's peerage, half Nakamata and half devil, silver hair, amber eyes, small build with little to no breasts, cat ears and tail matching her hair color. Ria's Gremory, daughter of Zeodicus Gremory and Venelana Gremory Baal, and little sister of Surzich's Lucifer, former Gremory, one out of the 4 devil kings of the underworld and heiress to the House of Grey. She is a young woman with crimson red hair that went to her knees, baby blue eyes, huge breasts, wearing the uniform from Kuoh Academy. Sona Sitri, daughter of Serena Sitri and Harold Sitri, and little sister of Seraphol Leviathan, former Sitri, 2 out of the 4 devil kings and heiress of the House of Sitri. She is a glasses-wearing young woman with black bob-cut hair and pink-purple eyes, slim figure, and in the same boat as Kaneko, with little to no breasts as well. Ria's queen, Akeno Himejima, daughter of Barakiel and deceased Shuri Himejima, half fallen angel half devil, a young woman with long onyx hair tied into a ponytail with an orange ribbon, bigger breasts than her king by 3 centimeters, wearing the Kuoh Academy girls' uniform. Sona's queen, Tsubaki Shinra, a glasses-wearing young woman with breasts almost on par with Ria's Gremory, wearing the Kuoh Academy uniform. 2 knights, Kibayudo, handsome, blonde hair, grey eyes, a beauty spot under his left eye, holding the sword of Betrayer, and Zenobia Quarta, daughter figure of Griselda Quarta, a young woman with short blue hair reaching her ears with a green fringe, golden eyes. Not as big breasts as Ria's, but smaller by 12 centimeters, fighting with her sword Durandal, and fighting an even bigger wolf than what Issei and Kaneko were fighting with Akeno and Kiba. Roswis, a Valkyrie and guard of the All-Father, Odin, faction leader of the Nordic faction and father of Loki. Irina Shidu, an angel, childhood friend of Issei Hyoudou and former partner of Zenobia Quarta. All were engaged in battle with Loki's sons Fenrir, Hati and Skoll. Rias and Sona fighting a clone of Dragon King and defeating it with minimum ease, and the rest also defeating the wolves. Loki, having the face of anger and disgust that devils, an angel and a Valkyrie, were easily winning against his sons, and far from the battle, everyone looked at a gigantic magic circle with Norse letters appear over a mountain, and a hammer known as Mjolnir, weapon of Thor, the god of thunder, dropped down and slid down the mountain, reaching the battlefield. Roswis. The hammer, Red Dragon Emperor. Go get it so we can defeat Loki. Issei, balance breaker. Alright. Issei took to the sky with his wings and flew to the hammer, but before he could reach it, he was in the jaws of Fenrir. Everyone looked at Issei with wide eyes, and Fenrir dropped to the ground, throwing Issei out of its mouth at a hill. Issei descended down the hill with his balance breaker falling with each fall he took to his arm and back. A loud crack was heard as his spine shattered before finally hitting the ground on his back, with blood splashing out from the holes that Fenrir's teeth were, and it surrounded his body, and his king flew straight to him. She held his head in her hands, crying at the condition that her precious pawn was in. Issei was starting to leak even more blood from the holes, mouth and nose. He looked at everyone who gathered around him and Rias with tears in their eyes, holding their fists till they bled. Issei. The hammer. His hand that pointed to the hammer fell to the ground, no movement from his body, and closed his eyes. The sight that was before everyone was the dead body of Issei Hyoudou, former Red Dragon Emperor of Domination. The red gauntlet on his left arm turned into green dust that flew into the sky, and his pawn pieces falling out of his body. Loki laughed at what happened before his eyes, and made a huge magic circle and beams of blue light, and they had to retreat. The news of the red dragon's death had spread wide, reaching all around the underworld, as his friends mourned for him. In an unknown place. In an unknown place that was dark, had a land filled with buildings, lights illuminating the streets and roads, there was a lingering soul that wondered. That was the soul of Issei Hyoudou with a red gauntlet on his left arm, and that was Ddraig Y Goch. The reason why Ddraig had not transferred to another host was because he saw potential in Issei and dragged his and Issei's soul together and put them back. Issei looked around the place and saw that his gauntlet was still on his arm, and his back, body and arms were healed from Fafnir and his fall. Issei. Ddraig, where are we? Ddraig. We are in the realm of the dead. Issei. So we died, huh? Ddraig. No shit, Sherlock. Issei. Is there a way to get out? Ddraig. There is. Issei. Tell me. Ddraig. We can use the Well of Resurrection. It can either return us to our world, reborn, or transport us to another world or universe. Issei. Let's look around for a bit first, then we can make a plan. Issei dismissed his gauntlet and walked around the city in the realm of the dead and put on a black night hoodie that he kept in his gauntlet and walked to a bar. As he opened the door, it became silent as the occupants of the bar looked at Issei and then continued as if they never saw him. He walked in and took a seat on a stool. The bartender looked at Issei as he was drawing a glass. Bartender. You look like you just died, kiddo. Issei. Yeah, I did just 5 minutes ago. Give me 3 shots of Johnny Walker. Even though Issei was young and not at the age where a Japanese person can drink, but since he's not in Japan and the realm of the dead has no rules about drinking, the bartender took a bottle of Johnny Walker from the stand and poured Issei 3 shots of whiskey. He took all 3 between his index, middle and ring finger and poured it into his mouth, swallowing all 3 in one go. Issei stood up from the stool and was about to leave until he saw 3 people walk into the bar and his eyes widened. He saw Rainer, Don Hasek and Kalwerner walk into the bar and sat at a table. He was gonna talk to them, but it wouldn't serve any purpose to what he has to do. In an apartment. Issei was able to steal money using his speed and lodged into a 1-bedroom apartment with a kitchen and a bathroom. Issei sat on his bed and took a 5-hour nap. Issei's mindscape. Issei was woken up by the heat of flames and saw Ddraig in a sitting position. Before, Issei could only see Draig's torso and face when he was pulled into when Ddraig wanted to talk to Issei. He looked at Ddraig. He had red scales like the color of blood, emerald green eyes like the jewel, under his beige from chin to tail, and black claws with a long tail. Issei. Hi Ddraig. Ddraig. It's good to see you've already settled in. Issei. Yeah, the place isn't half bad at all. So why am I here? Ddraig. It's so I can train your ass properly, but not like how Period Hair did and you got your ass handed to you by the Phoenix. Issei was about to retaliate about what Ddraig called Ria's, but he didn't want to start a fight with a dragon, so he stayed silent and agreed to what he said about Ria's training. Issei. So what do you suggest? Ddraig. First I'll transform your body into that of a dragon. The pain you will be feeling is because I'm rearranging your organs, cells, bones and skin. Issei. Alright, let's do it. Ddraig. Are you ready? Issei. I've survived getting light spears hit my body, almost burned by a phoenix, survived cuts by a holy sword, fought against a cadre fallen, my rival, and taking his power, trained by a dragon king, bitten by a dog, got my spine and arms broken without crying too loud, so yeah. Ddraig began the process by breaking, reorganizing and restoring his body, bones and system from a devil-human hybrid to a full-blooded dragon. Issei would be unconscious for the next 3 days for his body to adjust. 3 days later. Issei's hearing was the first to be working and got it with many sounds, then his nose could smell anything for miles. He ran to the bathroom and was surprised at how he looked. He became handsome, his eyes became a forest green eye color. His hair grown longer, reaching his chin, becoming a dark shade of brown, almost appearing black, skin became as hard as diamonds, physique to a bit buff, and had grown 6'1", which is incredibly tall. He got up and summoned his gauntlet. Issei. Hey Ddraig. Ddraig. You woke up. That means it was a success. Issei. Yeah, and I feel different. Ddraig. Get yourself something to eat first. Issei looked at his clothes and saw that his uniform was torn and small, and went to a clothing store where he got a black suit with no tie and the top button open to show his chest, and black shoes and black framed glasses. His hair got in his vision and went to a barber to get his hair cut and came out with a nice hairstyle, with his hair on the top cut short and the sides cut into a fade. He liked the way he looked and went to a restaurant at the rich side of the realm of the dead, and it had a modern interior and decor that suited what he has seen in magazines. He sat down and a young man dressed in a tuxedo came to take his order. Issei ordered a beef Wellington able to feed 10 people and ate it. After his meal he saw that it was night time and decided to go back to his apartment to sleep. Issei went back into his mindscape and began his training with Ddraig. Ddraig had a secret ability to make the outside world slower by a month and made Issei's training for at least 2 years. 2 years later in Issei's mindscape. Issei has improved drastically than his past self. Body, mind and soul. Our surpassing heavenly dragon class and becoming near dragon god class. His magic energy was like drops of water but was now like an infinite ocean, better control of his dragon body. Strength. Planetary level and with boosts is equal to universal strength. Stamina. Can have energy for months on end. Speed. Enrico Pucci with made in heaven speed, otherwise known as infinite speed. Durability. Can take the force of a 100 billion ton mountain, swim in lava, no dart, magic attack, sword, except dragon slaying swords, guns and knives, scratch, dent or bullet can penetrate his skin. Agility. Fast reflexes on par with his speed. Senses. Can smell scents for miles, hears any sound around a 100-mile radius, see for miles, and uses his eyes as a super powerful telescope and can feel magic signatures and power anywhere and at any time. Keen intellect. Can memories, scan and remember anything he sees, touches, reads and senses, and keeps it in his mind for life, and can forget it at will. High-speed regeneration. Issei has the ability to regenerate body parts and wounds at an astonishing speed that disappears in less than a second, but takes longer if hit with dragon-slaying swords or magic. Balance breaker can be held for 2.5 months, juggernaut drive for a month. Abilities such as penetrate, fire breath, blazing inferno, scorching flames, Welsh dragon flare, dragon aura, dragon shot, soul transfer and flight are now more powerful than when Ddraig used them, and their plan was set into motion. At the Well of Resurrection. Issei flew beside the protected well that had many guards and sneaked past the guards, using a magic concealment spell to hide his energy and body, then as soon as they left his 5 seconds window was open, and used a magic disruptor to make the magic barrier open a hole for 5 seconds, and jumped into it and successfully went to the cave where the well was. It was colored blue and purple on the walls from the reflection of the water. Issei was told by Ddraig to use a tiny bit of his magic into the pool, and it glowed in a pink, green and red light. Issei. Goodbye, everyone. He dived straight into the well and saw many colors as it turned black soon after. In a room in Japan. The feeling of a soft pillow on his head and his back felt a comfy bed, and he opened his eyes and looked around to see that he is on a bunk bed with a staircase at the foot of the bed with a couch and a desk underneath it, with enough space for a person to stand, but not for Issei. Issei walked down the short steps and looked out the window, and didn't recognize any of the buildings like they had in Kuoh, and went to a mirror, and saw he had the same looks, hairstyle, clothes and body, when he was in the realm of the dead. He used his senses to find anyone he knew, but he didn't feel a single thing, not even his parents. Issei walked downstairs and saw a woman who looked to be in her 30s with brown hair and grey-blue eyes and lab coat with a long-sleeved black polo neck, a skirt, and had dark black stockings and black leather-heeled boots. Issei would recognize that this would be his new mother, since he now knows he's in a completely different world, and decided to greet his new mom. He saw that she was falling down and caught her. The lady then opened her eyes in shock as she didn't notice that she fell asleep all of a sudden, and looked to see who caught her. Issei, hey mom. Oh, it's just you, Issei. Sorry, I've been a bit busy with work and have been feeling exhausted. Why do you sound like you don't know me? Issei wondered how he still had his first name in another world, but then looked at pictures around the walls and saw himself in them. Ones of him as a baby, a toddler, a teen then now. Issei. Yeah, let me just make you some coffee. Then I'll explain. Issei helped her get onto a chair with ease and used a coffee machine to make coffee for his mom and sat to talk a bit, and that her name is Kasumi and she said their surname is Issei Aono. Huh. Issei blew. Doesn't really sound like the color he represents but couldn't do anything about it. It is his last name for all of eternity. Issei. Should I set you to sleep, mom? Passamum? Yeah. She became drowsy and Issei lifted her from the chair, and as he was walking he heard his mother say. Passamum, sleepy. Your bus will arrive in the morning. For your new high school. Issei read a sign that said parents' room and opened the door and got her under the blankets and fell asleep. He went to his room. Issei. I wonder what my new school will be like. The green jewel formed on the back of Issei's hand. Ddraig. We'll see tomorrow. Yawn, let's sleep. Issei got to his bed and plopped onto the bed fast asleep. Chapter 1. The school vampire meets the dragon. Beeping noises. Issei groaned from the noise and hit the clock till it stopped, got up, rubbed his eyes, stretched and went to the bathroom to take a dump, then a shower. He opened his cupboard and saw a variety of clothes and saw a coat hanger with uniform on it. It was a green blazer with a white school shirt and red tie under it and brown pants with brown dress shoes. He puts it on and headed downstairs. Firstly, when Issei had a better look outside of the house, it was huge and with a lot of space in the front and backyard. His home on the inside was luxurious and had expensive chairs and etc. Issei. Whoa. My mom's loaded with cash. Issei heads to the kitchen and sees his mom flipping pancakes and eggs, along with squashing fresh oranges. She finished making breakfast and both ate it. Passamum and Issei head to the garage, and it looked like a private underground parking, and Issei sees a Dodge Challenger SRT Demon carbon fiber body with his name on the number plate and a Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG, parked at near the entrance of the garage. Kasumi enters the C63 and leaves the garage saying bye to Issei. Issei leaves the premises and waits for the bus. A few minutes later. The bus pulls up in front of Issei, and he climbs into it and finds a seat. The bus begins to move and drives for about 10 minutes past sakura trees and enters a tunnel. Issei feels a magic signature, and it was the same as the Well of Resurrection, but at a mini-tour level of power, and he gets off the bus and sees something really weird. He saw that the bus stopped by a cliff where a crimson-red ocean could be seen going for miles, and Thai sky was green and straight ahead was a forest. Bus driver. See ya, kid. The bus makes a U-turn and disappears as soon as it entered the tunnel. Issei then put his bag over his shoulder and walked to the academy. The path had many things such as tombstones and crows eating dead bodies. He skipped past those and heard flapping sounds and saw a bat that had an annoying voice, and Issei shot it a glare and it flew away. But he began to hear the sound of a bicycle coming his way, and he turns his head to the right and he sees a girl on a bike flying in the air towards his face, but he dodges it, making the bike hit a stone, and the girl as ragdoll thrown of the bike lands on her front side, and Issei walked towards her. He crouches down and turns her on her back, and his eyes widened. This girl was the definition of cute and beautiful. Long pink hair, flawless face, and above all, Issei. She's hot. The girl began to open her eyes, and green eyes met a handsome face with forest green eyes, and she butt her forehead against Issei, making his glasses fall off and winced in pain for a bit, and it healed up, leaving only a drop of blood on his forehead. Issei. Hey. The girl sat with her legs forming a W and apologizes to Issei for hurting him, and as Issei stood up and put his glasses on, he ended up touching her thigh, making her moan a bit. Issei backed his hand away and stood up, dusting his pants and her doing the same to her skirt. He noticed that she was wearing the same uniform as his with a green blazer. But what caught his attention was the thing on her neck. As he was looking at that thing on her neck, she looked at Issei as if we're a giant, and that's because he is being 6'1" is really tall compared to her. She then got closer to Issei and began to sniff him. Issei thought this was weird, but was even weird is what she was gonna say. I can't resist it. Issei. Can't resist what? She then reached towards his face and grabbed his cheeks with her hands and brought his face down. Issei tried forcing his head back up, but this girl had some strength if she can hold his head down, and she then used more strength enough to put Issei on one knee. I can't resist drinking your blood. Issei saw her open her mouth and saw very sharp canines, and she bit his neck, making a smooching sound as she sucked his blood, then let go after a few seconds. It's so delicious. Issei pulled his collar down to see the bite mark, and it healed immediately. He then looked at the girl. Issei. Why did you bite my neck? Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist it because I'm a vampire. Issei. Heh. Issei was confused and thought that he didn't sense any supernatural beings here until now. He felt the aura of a vampire at her body, then the thing on her neck. Issei. So you're a vampire? Yes, and can I ask you a question? Issei. Sure, go ahead. What do you think about vampires? Issei. Let me see. Asper was an example of a vampire, but not a very good one. Issei. I'd say they're fine. The girl jumped up in joy and stood in front of Issei. Hey, why don't we be friends? Issei thought about it, and it would be nice to have a friend before he starts at a new high school. Issei. Yeah, sure. My name's Issei Aono. Oh, I'm Moka Akashiya, and are you going to Yokai Academy as a first year? Issei. Wait. Now I jumped back to being a first year. His shock was seen by Moka, and he compassed himself. Issei. Yes, and I guess you are as well. Moka. Yeah, let's go together. She grabbed her bag and pulled Issei's and felt like he wasn't moving, and he was as she was skidding on the ground holding his hand. Issei. I'd walk at my own speed. He took his hand and walked past her, and she followed him. And after a few minutes of walking, they make it to the academy. In a classroom. Good morning, students. If you're new here, welcome to Yokai Academy. I'm Shizuka Nekonom and I'm your homeroom teacher. Shizuka Nekonom is a woman with sandy blonde hair shaped as cat ears, while wearing a white blouse, orange skirt, low heel sandals, and her eyes seemed to be closed. Issei looked around the class and saw many students with varying hair colors. Shizuka. And I hope you already know this, but this school was built for monsters of all times and places to attend. Issei. Wait, monsters? Ddraig. Yes, it seems like the teacher is a monster, or otherwise known as a catgirl, and the others in this room as well. Issei. So now instead of devils in my old school, my new school has monsters, just great. Shizuka. At this point, the planet is already well under the control of humans. So in order for monsters like us to survive, the only options is that we have to coexist with the humans. Issei was beginning to like the school a bit since it had monsters that he can fight or be friends with. Shizuka. And rule no. 1. Well, we're on campus, except in special circumstances, always remain in human form. Issei could bet that some looked hideous like Visor or Kakabiel. Shizuka. And rule no. 2. Never reveal your monster identity to any one of the other students. Everyone got that? Now everyone be sure to follow these rules, okay? Issei then heard a scoff next to him, and it was a guy that had the look of a punk, saying that the rules are boring. The boy next to Issei was Seizo Kamiya. Seizo? If we spot a human, why not just eat the damn thing? That's what I'm planning to do, teach. He let out his tongue, which was long and sounded like a slither. Issei. I already hate this guy. He said under his breath. Shizuka. Ah, but you won't see any humans here. That because at this school all the teachers and all the students are monsters, no exceptions. A tail that resembles a cat's tail came out from her. She explained that the school is hidden in a huge secret barrier that cannot be seen from the human realm, and that if any humans happen to wander inside they will be killed right on the spot. Issei. Thank goodness I'm not half human. Issei's sweat dropped and Seizo looked at him with his tongue swaying, and Issei looked back at Seizo, with his eye changing into green with slits, and Seizo felt intimidated by Issei's eyes and looked back at the board. Issei had been keeping his aura tight shut from being sensed that he had the similar scent of a human on him, since his mom hugged him before she left and her scent stayed on his clothes. Seizo began to say that he smells a human in the classroom, but was then interrupted by the class door sliding open, and Moka arrived and bowed for being late to class, and Shizuka asked who she was, and she introduced herself to the class. Many complimented on her looks, and said that they're in love with her already. She then looked around the class and spotted Issei before leaping towards him for a hug. Many, especially the boys, were jealous of Issei's good looks and the girls jealous because Moka knows Issei and he accepts the hug. Sometime later. In the hallways all the students were with their friends and classmates talking, and all stopped as the look downstairs ended Issei and Moka walking arm in arm. The boys were even more jealous, and Issei didn't like those looks that all the students gave him and Moka, and glared a bit at all, making them turn their heads or leave the area. Moka and Issei stop at a vending machine, and Moka orders a can of tomato sauce, and he took a Sprite. As their cans dropped down, Issei and Moka's hands touched, with Moka pulling her hand a bit and Issei taking both cans and handing over her can, thanked him, and both opened them and drank. Issei got reminded at how Moka acts. Cute and happy, just like how Asia did. He really began to miss everyone from the other world and hoped that they're fine without him. As Issei finished his drink and threw his can away and Moka was still drinking hers, he then hears a familiar voice. Seizo? Hey you. You said your name was Moka Akashiya, ain't that right? He then walked towards Issei and pulled Issei's tie and tried to lift him up, but couldn't. He out more effort into it, but Issei would budge. Issei then grabbed Seizo's hand and twisted it, making him spin and hit the ground, making a crater in less than 5 seconds. Issei then put his foot on Seizo's head and rubbed it. Issei. Oh yeah, I think I remember I stepped on crap while I was on my way here, shithead. Seizo then got up from the spot where he was slammed and tried to punch Issei, but Issei ducked and punched Seizo square in the chest, making him crash into the vending machine with blood leaking from his head. Issei. You dare do that again. I'll kill you. Seizo got up and ran off from the scene as many students looked at Issei with wide eyes, and he sent the same glare with his eyes glowing green for a moment, and they walked away with sweat dripping from their faces. Issei. I apologize for that, Moka. Moka looked at Issei with wide eyes. Moka. What are you? Issei. I'll tell you after school, but let's move from here. Issei and Moka walk, and Moka held his arm again with a smile and a blush. After the ordeal with Seizo, Issei and Moka are on the rooftop of the academy. Issei. Hey Moka. Moka. Yes Issei. Issei. What's that thing on your chest? Moka. Oh this is my rosary. If I take this off, I'll turn into a scary honest-to-goodness vampire. Issei. You mean a actually real vampire that does more than just suck blood? Moka. Yes, and I wear it to seal my powers from being unleashed. I actually can't take it off myself. Issei. You know there's nothing wrong with showing your true self. Moka then leaped onto Issei, wrapping her legs around his waist, snuggling her face against his, and he had a blush on his face. Moka. Ah. I knew you'd understand. You're my first friend here, Issei. She puked away from his face and got off him. Moka. And there's something else you took as a first time from me in that other way too. Her blush increased a bit, and Issei's mind was either on the perverted side or the confused side, and he picked the confused side. Issei. What do you mean? Moka. I've never sucked anyone's blood like that before, since I had to rely on blood transfusions and tomato juice, until I met you, Issei. It tastes so sweet, so rich, that feeling I'll never forget. She then wrapped her arms around Issei's shoulder and the back of his head and tiptoed to his neck, and then he saw another version of Moka, but with mature looks, silver hair, blood-red eyes, sharper canines and bigger breasts, ass and legs. He felt a tremendous amount of power flicker from the rosary, and the pupil on it shrunk to a thin slit, and his senses telling him she's dangerous, but not his level. Issei then let her drink his blood, getting moans reach his ears and felt a tingle in his pants, but it subsided as she got of his neck and it healed back to normal. After school, Issei decided to go for a stroll out of the campus to take a better look of his surroundings better and get used to seeing this, but as he was about to walk away, he felt someone grab onto his blazer and saw Moka behind him, inhaling and exhaling. Issei. Hey, Moka? Where are you going? Issei. Just for a little stroll, I'll be back soon, don't worry. Issei left the campus, and after he was out of sight, Moka went back into the school but was then stopped by a voice coming from behind a tree. Shizo. Where were you going, Missy? Moka. I'm sorry, but I'm a bit busy now. Shizo. I've had all I can take of this. Shizo's body mass grew to be 5 times bigger than Moka, and she took steps back from Shizo, whose body began to grow into a different skin color, shape and sizes. Shizo. This is my true form, I'm an orc. His tongue then hit Moka, making her scream loud enough for Issei to hear it, and he rushed immediately to where Moka is using his speed to run. Issei. That fucking shithead Shizo. With Moka. Moka was covered in slobber from Shizo, and he kept on asking why she can't turn into her true form, saying that she might be scared shitless and thought that was the reason why she couldn't transform. Moka shouted in retaliation that it is against school rules to change into your monster form, but Shizo could care less about the rules. Since they were outside of campus, they could do whatever they want, and he shot his tongue at Moka, but it wrapped around something. Shizo looked at what his tongue got and saw Issei with a red gauntlet with a green gem on the middle and golden spikes from the elbows. He thought that it was a toy, but then began to feel a searing pain as his tongue felt heat from the gauntlet and it melted into putty. He screamed in pain, but then looked at Issei's eyes as they turned fully green with anger on his face. Issei. Well, if we can turn into our monster forms outside of campus, let me show you mine. Issei's body glowed in a crimson red light, blinding Moka and Shizo, and what they saw was absolutely scary and terrifying. Shizo. Is that the legendary X-class dragon? Issei's power was overwhelming, it made Shizo and Moka tremble at his form. Issei Dragon voice. Well, I don't know about your rankings or classes of monsters, but I'm guessing I'm on top of everything else in this realm. Roar. Issei's roar was intimidation incarnate, enough to shake the ground, the skies and Shizo to run away, but then Issei looked at the shocked Moka and looked at her rosary. He used his tail to take it off, and it flung off her neck with it stuck on his tail. After that, Moka began to levitate, and he felt power building up and saw that her clothes disintegrated off her body, and he saw the other version of Moka right before his very eyes. Pink hair turned into silver, green eyes turned into blood red, breasts, ass, arms and legs grew bigger, and her uniform appeared, and she landed with bats flying off her body, and it revealed her inner self. The inner version looked at what took her rosary off and was downright terrified at what was before her. Issei Dragon form. Well, I guess you're Moka's inner power that was sealed within the rosary. He lifted his tail where the rosary was stuck and looked back at Issei and talked in a more mature voice. Inner Moka. Well, this is a first. Now, tell me, where is that bastard that hit my other self? She demanded, and Issei pointed his index claw at Shizo. Shizo. There's no way. The red eyes. Silver hair. Overwhelming monster power. It's an S-class super monster, a vampire. Inner Moka moved a fringe from her vision and put her hand on her hip. Inner Moka. So you're the one who interrupted my slumber? Shizo began to tremble even more by tenfold as he saw Issei's dragon form stand behind Moka and then transformed back into his human form, but his eyes remaining bright green, and caught the rosary in his hand. The intimidation from the two made him even more scared. There were 2 super monsters in front of him giving him a stare down. Issei. Will you do the honors? Inner Moka. I shall. Inner Moka walks to the trembling Shizo. Moka stretched her knuckles while Shizo was not believing that he trembling because of a stare, and she hopped on her feet getting ready. Shizo pulled himself together and imagined if he took down a vampire, but was stopped by 2 loud yawns coming from Issei and Moka. Inner Moka. You should know your place. Shizo. Inner Moka raised her right leg and kicked him in the jaw, making him skid so fast that he made an indent in Time Mountain shaped exactly like him. Inner Moka put down her leg and looked at a very bruised Shizo, saying that he'll be more mindful, and passed out. Inner Moka stood in the crimson moonlight staring at Issei, and he threw the rosary at her, and she caught it and looked at him. Inner Moka. Only awaken me when it's an emergency or when she is in trouble, okay? Issei. Yeah. Inner Moka. But before I turn back, I want to taste something. Issei could only think of one thing and moved his collar, exposing his neck. Inner Moka held his shoulders and bit his neck, sucking his blood, and a little moan escaped, and she got off his neck and it healed back up, and she put the rosary on, and she turned back into Moka. Issei caught her in his arms, and the sky changed back to normal, with Thai sun setting nicely over the ocean, and Moka began to wake up wondering what Issei was staring at, and looked at the sun setting, and it disappeared. She then went back to sleep, and Issei got her back to the school. Issei then got 2 keys to 2 rooms. His room in Thai male dorms and Moka's in the girls' dorms. He opened the door to Moka's room and pulled the blanket away, set her into bed, covered her up and left to his dorm room. It looked plain as paper, so he used magic to change it up a bit. Issei. More like it. Issei then used magic to change him out of his uniform and into black shorts with no shirt, and went under the covers and went to sleep. Chapter 2. Kurumu of Black Dreams. Issei woke up early from his comfy bed and started his morning routine of eating breakfast, which he cooked, a 2-hour workout session. After his workout, Issei had written a letter to his mother about how his new school, Yokai Academy, turns out to be for monsters. Luckily, the students in the dormitory get their own rooms, which was a relief, but they looked a bit too bland, and he changed it to his own liking. Taking a shower was a bit of a shit start, as his ears kept on hearing how the others slept like babies, and how they are still groggy, because they're out of their human forms, and with some almost breaking the golden rule of this school. Issei brushed his teeth and his thoughts of this school of monsters, by monsters, and for monsters. Later on, Issei was walking separately from the other students while having some conversations with Ddraig about how he can not only use the bus to go back to his mom's home, and that they can use magic circles and teleportation for that, instead of having to wait for another month. The other male student stopped and looked behind them, and Issei turned his head slightly and saw Moka Akashiya. Many of the males thought that it was a crime for her being so hot, and Issei couldn't have agreed more. Moka walked like a model while humming a song happily, and as soon as she opened her eyes she saw Issei, and the males thought that she was running towards them, but their expectations were cut short as Moka held onto Issei's left arm. Moka, good morning Issei. Issei. Mornin', Moka. Issei smiled at her, and the two walked away as to not hear the males curse Issei and asking what the hell just happened, but they never got an answer as the two were already gone. The rumors of Issei beating the crap out of that troublemaking monster Saizo Kamiya with ease the other day spread like wildfire. Issei. I wasn't the only one. He said in his thoughts while Moka looked at him. Moka. What's with you Issei? Come on, let's go. Moka held Issei's hand in a vice and he was running along with her. The male students got angrier seeing the two hold hands and cried in jealousy and misery and wished it were them. Behind a tree there stands a young woman with light ocean blue hair tied up with a purple ribbon, purple eyes looking at the direction of where Issei and Moka walked. Issei and Moka walked next to each other past tombstones and dead trees. Moka. Issei. Issei. Issei face turned to Moka's. Moka. I imagine you're feeling pretty lonely now, all by yourself in a school full of monsters. But if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask, okay? I'll do whatever I can to help. Issei. Moka, the other day it was amazing when she turned into that super sexy vampire, but it turns out this girl is actually nice. Moka smiled at Issei, and he smiled back her, and in their minds, they kept on saying each other's names, much to Issei's confusion as to why he is doing that by himself. Moka. It's too much. Issei. What do you mean? Moka. It's cause I overslept this morning and didn't have breakfast. Moka leaped in for a bit and Issei caught her by her shoulders. Issei. Moka. Moka. Sorry about this Kapu. She bit Issei's neck and started sucking his blood again. After a few minutes Moka got off Issei's neck and the holes healed up fast and Issei told Moka to walk ahead to school. He takes a seat on a log and a green gem forms on his hand. Ddraig. How's life so far? Issei. Good. Already have a vampire sucking my blood and I bet it's gonna be routine from now on. Geez, is my blood that good? Ddraig. Of course. Dragon blood is the most potent blood in the whole of the supernatural world. Plus remember when I told you as a dragon, you will attract females, and this one became instantly attracted to you when you met eyes. Issei. Yeah. The gem disappeared. Issei then noticed that the clouds began to darken, shooting lightning, then thunder, and the crows looked very hungry. Issei. This school is a bit scary. Girl. Ouch. Somebody help me. Issei looked across the lake and ran to see who got hurt. Issei. Are you hurt? It caught me, I feel so dizzy. The girl looked at Issei and Issei was thrown off by her beauty. Issei. What's your name? Kurumu. It's Kurumu Kurono. Kurumu has shoulder-length light ocean blue hair that is tied in a ponytail with a purple-made headband that has one gold star on the left side, deep purple eyes, thick long black eyelashes and large breasts. She is also quite small as she is only 5 feet tall, making her a bit shorter than Moka. She wears an almost plain long-sleeved white polo shirt with a red bow tie, plus a pale yellow colored vest and a miniskirt that looks exactly like the school's uniform skirt. Issei helped her up and held her, and she snuggled against his chest. Issei asked if she was fine, but in response, she pushed her large breasts on his chest, making him widen his eyes, and she asked what was wrong, but Issei responded a bit flustered, saying nothing was wrong. Issei, while in contact with the girl, checked again for injuries, but there was none. Ddraig. She's trying to bait you, be careful, partner. Issei. Right. Issei then noticed a grin on the girl's face and knew immediately that she was up to no good and walked her to school. Meanwhile at the school, Moka thinking about how she is a bad girl even though Issei smells so good that she can't control herself when she is near him looking over the horizon. At any rate, she wants to apologize to him. She walked off the roof of the school and on the ground was Kurumu and Issei walking on the stone path arm in arm between the school buildings. Kurumu. I'm really sorry to put you out like this, Issei. Issei. How do you know my name? Kurumu. You're so silly. We're in the same class. Issei. Oh yeah. You sit behind Saizo Kamiya. Kurumu. Yeah. Kurumu gets out of the armhole and turns to Issei looking up to him. Ddraig and Issei found out that Kurumu is a succubus and was luring Issei to be a slave, and Issei thought of a plan which was for him to pretend to fawn over Kurumu. Out of the blue she just fell and Issei caught her. Him already knowing that this was an act asked in what people call appearance versus reality and asked in worry. Issei. Whoa. You okay? Kurumu. I'm sorry, I've been kind of sickly ever since I was born. Every now and then, my breasts seize up. Issei. Your breasts. Ddraig. I've never heard of something like that in my life. Kurumu then rubbed her breasts on Issei's chest, making him blush a bit. Kurumu. They just get all tight, like they're being squeezed, and it's like they're gonna pop right open. They get swollen and they get so tight, see, they're all full. The large breasts of the succubus were everything Issei dreamed of in his past life. Issei. On God, they feel good. Wait, what the hell am I thinking? They should be exposed, not under cloth. He protested mentally. Kurumu. Issei. Issei. What is it? Kurumu. Look into my eyes. Issei. Okay. Kurumu. I want you to be my friend, okay? Ddraig. Do it. Kurumu's eyes sent waves to Issei's brain and made his eyes look like they're lifeless on command and commented on how her eyes were beautiful. Issei. Of course I'll be your friend. Issei then embraced the succubus in his arms and she melted into the hug. The two were like a happy couple laughing. Issei spun around with Kurumu and unknown to them Moka looked at the two. Kurumu. We're in the same class. Isn't that right, Issei? Issei. Yeah, same class. Kurumu and Issei left to go to their next class, and Moka was about to run after them, and Issei turned his head to her and mouthed these words to Moka. Issei. I'll explain later. In modern Japanese class. This is Nekonim. And in terms of other famous novelists who loved cats, besides Saseki, we can also point to Hyakken Ichida. Hyakken was originally one of Saseki Natsume's pupils. Nekonim said while Moka was talking to herself. Moka. That girl, I think her name is Kurumu. Who is she to Issei, anyway? Issei. Why the fuck does a hot babe like her make me want to do things like that? I've got to get out as fast as I can to avoid Kurumu and explain what my plan is to Moka after class. The bell rings and Issei turns around and sees that Moka left her bag. In the corridors. Moka was standing by a window opening a can of tomato juice while thinking. Moka. Jerk. That Issei, I can't believe he's flirting with her like that. After Moka drank her can she heard a voice from somewhere. Kurumu. Hey, I heard that you are a vampire. Moka looked up and saw Kurumu sitting on the wooden stairs rails. Kurumu. That's what people are saying, anyway, Moka Akashiya. Kurumu jumped off the railing and landed on the ground with her skirt flung up and her white panties were flashed to the onlookers. Many of the boys blushed at what they saw. Veil 1. Dude, did you see that? Veil 2. I saw. They were totally white. Veil 3. Yeah, that was pretty sweet, but what about those bouncing boobs? Kurumu stood up from the ground making her breasts bounce. Veil 1. Whoa. She's really short, but damn those tits are huge, bro. Kurumu out her hand in her hip and posed like a supermodel, while a crowd of male students surrounded Moka and Kurumu. Kurumu. As for me, I came here to make a declaration of war. Moka. Declaration of war. Kurumu stood next to Moka facing the opposite direction. Kurumu. The problem is this, you're in the way. I've got big plans, and you're messing them up. Moka faced Kurumu in confusion. Moka. Plans. Kurumu. That's right. I'm gonna turn all the boys in this school into my love slaves. I call it the Turn Yokai Academy into my own personal harem project. Moka's sweat dropped. Kurumu moved her body and hips which made her breasts bounce more. Kurumu. You betcha, it's the perfect plan, drawn up by yours truly, the succubus Kurumu Kurono. Moka. But wait, isn't it against school rules to reveal your monster identity? Kurumu got angry and walked up to Moka with her breasts under Moka's. Kurumu. But then, Moka Akashiya. Then tie stupid boys in this school suddenly for you instead of me. Kurumu got off Moka. Moka. That's not the issue, the school rules are. A bright light and sparks of lightning were flashing from the two. Kurumu. When it comes to feminine charms, I shouldn't be losing to anyone. Male 4. It pretty grudge. He said in his thoughts. All males. No, dude, it's pretty grudge the likes of which we're never seen. The males said in their minds in sync. Kurumu then walked a few feet away from Moka. Kurumu. So that's why I decided to beat you once and for all, by stealing Issei Aono from you. Moka. That's stupid. Issei has got nothing to do with it. She said in worry. Issei was around the corner when he heard Kurumu say that she would steal him from Moka and decided to intervene. Issei. Oh, there you are. Moka looked and saw Issei walk past a crowd of males with ease, and he saw Kurumu about to grab his arm, but he dodged her by jumping in the air, making her hit a wall, and stood next to Moka. Moka. Issei. Issei. Come with me. Issei carried Moka in a princess carry which made her checks flush red and left the building in high speed, leaving a dust cloud of his figure before the crowd even saw him move. Kurumu got up and was angry. Kurumu. Issei. She shouted and stormed off. But Issei and Moka. Issei had stopped at the back of the school with Moka in his arms and put her down, looked around to make sure that no one was near. Moka. Issei, what happened? I thought that you were under her control. Issei. Moka, do you really think that a succubus can control me, a dragon? Moka. No. Issei. Do you remember when I mouthed at you saying I'll explain later? Moka remembered when Issei did that. Issei. So you remember? Moka. Yes. Issei. So here's my plan. Issei said that he will pretend to be under her control, and Moka should act mad and walk away from him whenever Kurumu would be near. Once Kurumu were to try to kiss him in order to make him into her slave, Moka would jump in immediately when she hear Issei snap his fingers, which will be very loud, and she will grab me and run to the forest far from the school, and they would trap her. Issei. Got it. Moka. Yeah. Issei and Moka walked back into the school until they saw Kurumu looking around the hallway. Issei. Let's do this. Issei fist bumped Moka and Kurumu spotted Issei and ran to him, hugging him in joy after finding him. Kurumu. Issei, why did you leave me? Issei acted drowsy and made it like saliva was coming outside of his mouth. Issei. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Kurumu. Issei, what is Moka to you? Issei. I'm just breakfast to you, Moka. Moka was in shock but not really. Moka. No, you're not. That's not true. Moka started gathering tears in her eyes with a frown on her face and ran away crying, much to Kurumu's amusement. Kurumu. Moka Akashiya, that's a win for me. In the nurse's office. Issei is sitting on a stool with his head down, and Kurumu is on the bed with her tail out, celebrating how she has taken Issei Aono from Moka Akashiya. Kurumu. Yahoo. I did it. I managed to make that Moka bitch cry and run away. She said in her mind in joy. Issei. This girl has the nerve to do this shit to Moka, and I had to pretend to say all those things to Moka, even though they were just fake. She looked like she was in pain after what I said. He said, a bit sad in his mind, and Ddraig told him that Tai plan will play out alright. Issei continued to hear how Kurumu kept on insulting her more and more, but kept his aura down from destroying the school. Issei stood up from the stool. Kurumu. Issei. Issei. I've got to go apologize to Moka. Kurumu jumped from the bed and put his face in her boobs, making Issei speak inaudibly in embarrassment. Kurumu. You're feeling down in the dumps, aren't you, Issei? But it's gonna be alright because I'm here to comfort you. Kurumu then pushed Issei onto the bed and seductively crawled above his chest, and her face began to close into his face for a kiss, and he snapped his fingers so hard that he made Kurumu fall to the ground, covering her ears. With Moka. Moka sat on some stairs outside of the school with her hands on her knees and her face looking at the stairs. Moka. Is it true? Do I just want to be friends with Issei for his blood? I just don't know what to think anymore. She started crying a bit and stopped when she looked at her rosary. Inner Moka. Is this really the time to be moping around? You have got to get it together. Issei told you that he did not fall prey to the succubus's magic look, that's all. It's called charm, and now she doesn't have him eating in the palm of her hand. Moka. What's this? Coming from my rosary. Inner Moka. When a man is kissed by a succubus, he becomes her prisoner forever, and she'll try to suck the life out him, but she would end up dying if she tried. Moka then heard a loud sound coming from the nurse's office and knew that it was the signal to grab Issei out of the room. Moka stood up and ran to the other side of the school. Inner Moka. Hurry up. Moka ran faster till she reached the window and jumped up and saw Issei sitting by the window sill with his arms crossed and saw Kurumu on the floor holding her ears. Issei. Let's go. Moka. Wow. She was stopped by Issei grabbing her waist and jumped out the window unfurling his dragon wings and flying away from the school and into the forest and crash landed with Issei holding Moka protectively. Issei. You alright? Moka opened her eyes and looked into Issei's forest green eyes. Moka. Yes, I'm fine. They both got up and dusted themselves, and Issei could feel Kurumu's aura approaching fast, and he looked up and saw Kurumu with 2 bat wings coming out of her back and long sharp nails. Kurumu. Perfect. Now I've gotta kill both of you at once. Kurumu began laughing like a mad woman and flew directly at Issei and Moka. Moka then pushed Issei away, and the 2 dodged slashes that cut down 3 trees in half. Issei. Moka, you hurt. Moka. No, I'm just fine. Moka smiled at him, and that made him happy and looks towards Kurumu with anger and summons the boosted gear on his arm and instantly has 2 boosts per 5 seconds. Moka looked at the crimson gauntlet in awe. Moka. Issei, what is that? Issei. We'll talk later in my dorm. Issei was about to run after Kurumu, but Moka held his arm. Moka. Issei, pull of my rosary. If we don't do something, we might get killed. Issei pulled it but it wasn't coming off. Kurumu. Moka Akashiya. So all that talk about you being a vampire was just a false rumor. Well, it serves you right. Now you can die in the arms of that hanger-on of a man you call Issei. Issei was about to get up to fight Kurumu, but Moka held his head to her chest in a protective manner. Moka. If you're gonna do it, please just kill me, not him. Kurumu had a face of shock then anger. Kurumu. Are you really prepared to go that far just to protect your precious food, Moka Akashiya? Moka. That's not it. Moka's shout stopped Kurumu mid-air. Moka. It's not about his blood. That's not what this is. I want to protect Issei. I don't want to lose him. Because he's my friend, the first one I've ever had. She exclaimed in anger. Issei. Moka. Kurumu began her charge towards Moka and Issei at high speeds. Kurumu. What's this friend crap? Don't make me laugh. The only thing men are good for is to make slaves out of. They're just someone to bend to your will. Issei. I'm her friend. So what Ddraig said was right. I would attract females since I'm a dragon. Kurumu went for slash, but it was deflected by Issei's hand. Issei. The fuck did you call me? Issei used his claws to cut off her nails, making her back away from the aura she was feeling. Issei's power exploded pushing Kurumu away. Issei. I'm not some hanger-on. His gauntlet glowed green and he was surrounded by a red glow, and he pulled off the rosary much to Moka's shock, and the Moka glowed in a bright pink light. Kurumu. What the hell is that? The Moka's transformation turned the soil dark gray, Thai sky a crimson red, and the moon shined in velvet as well. Kurumu flew back in fear. Kurumu. What's this monstrous energy? Bats descended from the moon and flew into Moka's body enlarging her proportions, and her hair turned silver, and her eyes turned red. The bats flew off her body, and her Mr. form was revealed, and she looked at Kurumu with a smirk. Inner Moka. Sorry to keep you waiting. Issei's transformation turned his hair red, his eyes green, and his 4 dragon wings sprouted from his back. Kurumu. Could this be one of the rare S-class supermonsters? Is this the true face of a vampire? She then looked at Issei and her eyes widened in shock. Kurumu. And you are a rare X-class supermonster. A dragon. Inner Moka. Care to see for yourself whether the rumors are true or not? Issei. Well, little Miss Succubus. The 2 smirked at her. Their personalities were way more different than before. Kurumu. You just be joking. There's no way I'm gonna lose. I'm on a very important mission, and the fate of my race depends on it. Issei. Important mission. Kurumu. That's right. The reason Succubus seduce men is so we can meet our man of destiny. There aren't many of us, so in order to keep our race going, we have to choose our destined one very carefully from out of a large pool of men. But you got in the way of all that, Moka Akashiya. That's why I'm gonna make you pay, so help me God. She swooped in and the 2 shifted their bodies left to right to dodge her claws from slashing them. Kurumu was shocked that they dodged her attack so easily. Inner Moka. So that's why you're picking a fight with us, is it? Issei. That was a mistake. He finished her sentence with a smirk. Kurumu got up and went in for a slash, but the 2 jumped in the air. Kurumu. They're too fast. Inner Moka. No, you're too slow. Now you experience the overwhelming difference in power firsthand. Inner Moka grabbed her tail and flung her into the air and kicked her in the chin, making her go through many trees and hit a tree and falling to the ground. Kurumu. I've learned my lesson. She said in a weeping manner, and Inner Moka walked to Kurumu. Inner Moka. I can't stand the sight of all that flapping. How about I yank off your wings and tail so you'll never fly again, huh? She said, manifesting a bright red mirage of herself growing in height with a malicious aura which made Kurumu scared. Kurumu? And no. I'm begging you, please, anything but that. Inner Moka was just about to attack Kurumu, but Issei stopped her and she looked at him. Inner Moka. What do you think you're doing? Step aside. Issei. No. Inner Moka. What do you mean no? Not only did she trick you, she tried to kill you as well. Issei. She's had enough already. You heard her, she just did it for the sake of her race. Inner Moka. And what makes you so sure? Issei had a flashback about how Rainer killed him. She did it because she was forced to or else she would be killed by Kakabiel, and the world works around survival, so it's either kill or be killed. Issei. I'm talking from experience. She could become a friend and an ally to us, just like how me and your outer form right now. Kurumu began crying and Issei looked back at her. Inner also looked at Kurumu with a less angered face and how she was crying. Inner Moka then took the rosary from Issei's hand. Inner Moka. Don't be so touchy. Listen, Issei Aono, you've got the wrong idea about me. I just wanted to make sure your blood wouldn't get swiped from me. Unlike the other Moka, the sentimental that you know. She put the rosary back on and transformed back into outer Moka. Issei. What are you? Issei was cut off as Moka's body fell, and he caught her while the surroundings changed back to normal, and Kurumu stopped crying and looked at Issei. Issei. Moka. A few days later. Issei. The rosary spoke to you? Moka. It's weird, isn't it? Maybe the seal's getting weaker or something. Issei. The seal, huh? The flashback to Inner Moka's smile ran through his mind as he looked towards the sky. Issei. The way I see it, both of you Mokas are friends that I just couldn't bear be without. He said, looking at Moka with a smile that captivated her heart. Issei. So you know, if you guys wanna have my blood here and there, that's fine by me. Moka. Issei. She said, blushing. Issei. And about yesterday in my dorm or talk about how your rosary and my sacred gear are basically the same, and I'm sorry for saying all those things. He said, scratching the back of his neck in embarrassment. Moka shook her head. Moka. Don't. Issei and Moka stared into each other's green eyes, repeating their names back and forth. Kurumu, good morning Issei. Kurumu's shout interrupted Issei and Moka's moment, and she held a container in her hands. Kurumu. I baked some treats for us. What do you say we eat them together? Issei. Why are you asking me? Kurumu. Come on. I already told you I was looking for my one and only destined partner for life, didn't I? Issei and Moka hummed and nodded. Kurumu. So I've decided on Issei. Issei and Moka. Kurumu turned, holding her blushing face with her hand. Kurumu. It's all your fault, Issei, you were the one who risked your own life to save me. So now I'm totally in love with you. She pressed her boobs against his torso and opened the container. Kurumu. Here, have some of my treats. Issei was cut off by the familiar smell of something in the container. He sniffed the air more and more until he reached Kurumu's face, and she blushed at the close contact. Issei. Is that cheesecake? Kurumu. Why, yeah it is. Why? Issei. It's my favorite food of all time. He exclaimed in joy, making Kurumu happy but Moka jealous. And she pulled him away from Kurumu and Kurumu pulled him back, and it became a tug of war with Issei becoming the rope, and Kurumu held him, and Moka pulled his left arm. Moka. Stop it. Issei is mine and mine alone. She got a hold of him and bit his neck. Moka. Slurp. Chapter 3. Love is a witch. Dear Mom, this school in my opinion is just normal well till you see what it really is with your own eyes. They're quite early on the side, still having the same midterm tests. Issei stood by the leaderboard seeing his name in near the top 10 of the midterm test results, and Ddraig gave him a mental applause for doing well in his tests. Issei, thanks Ddraig. Ddraig. No problem, studying and revising your work plus your dragon brain can collect information much easier than most of the other creatures here, but the others. Some students did bad on their test, and when I say bad, they did really bad. Issei heard some being in the top 500s and 100s which they felt proud about, but remembering what Vali said when they fought on the night of the conference. Bali echo. To each their own. Issei sighed and looked at Moka's results, which between himself and her, they were one position apart from each other. Issei then saw the same bat that he saw when he first arrived at Yokai Academy, talking to no one. That. At least the boy got a good score, Spewy. He shook his head and he felt the presence of a particular pink-haired vampire being praised by the male students for her smarts and looks. When Moka opened her eyes and saw Issei, she ran towards him. Issei. You did amazing, Moka. Moka. It was just a fluke. She replied cutely. Issei. Next time around, you and me study good together. Moka. Thank you Issei. Then the thing with him and Moka saying their names began again and Issei couldn't get why that kept on happening every time after a conversation. Then the two began to hold hands and their green eyes locked onto each other. Far from them was a petite girl who has short black hair and purple eyes. She wears the school's uniform, fused with a witch's outfit, sporting the uniform skirt and a wand to boot. She wears a black witch hat that droops down, a pink top and a pink corset, and wears a bright pale yellow over the knee socks and brown shoes. The girl stares at the interaction between Issei and Moka with glowing eyes intrigued. Male. Congratulations, Yukari Sendo. The petite girl named Yukari has been interrupted by the voice of a male and looked away from Issei and Moka and sees three males. The first of the three had a scary face twisted with arrogance, didn't wear the blazer, nor the tie, just the shirt with the two buttons undone with a dark green band around his left upper arm, stating that he was the class president and captain. The second male was the same, but had short hair and didn't have the band. The third was just a fat boy with a blazer and tie. Yukari. Oh, the guys from my class. The class president began to say that it was expected for Yukari to be no point 1 on the midterm test and told her that she shouldn't press her luck or she's going to pay the price if she got too proud of herself. She questioned why she shouldn't press her luck and second male lashed out, pointing at her with anger. Male 2. For example, that stupid witch costume of yours. Then the fat boy looked her up from her shoes to her face, humming and saying that it's against school rules to wear anything other than the school uniform. Yukari. But this is my, she stuttered. The class president then put his hand on his temples, saying that she should spare him of the details and that the mere fact that she is even in the school is enough to give him a headache, and Yukari put her hand that held the wand behind her and spun it a bit, and a copper tub fell onto the class president's head with great force, knocked him to the ground and did the same, hitting the other two on their heads and knocking them to the ground. Yukari laughed at the three males while wiping a tear away. Yukari. Serves you jerks right. The class president got up enraged and launched himself towards Yukari with the intention to claw her. Moka. Leave her alone. She shouted. The class president stopped in his tracks when Moka stood in front of Yukari with her arms spread apart. Class president. Who are you? He said in shock as his claw just touched her bangs. Moka. You shouldn't go around hitting girls. Issei, hearing what he heard, turned around to see Moka defending a girl from a male with his claws out. Issei walked towards the interaction between Moka and the male, with his power directed to the males and the other students. Attention was directed away from the leaderboard towards the conflict with interest, and some students knew the male with the armband. Issei's power and the eyes of many others made the three males retreat, saying that they should leave it at that, and had this to say with a glare towards Yukari, turning around. Class president. I swear just being in the same class with one of your filthy kind makes me want to puke. Issei. Move it. The males walked away from the power Issei released, which wasn't good for them. Moka sighed as he put her arms down in relief. Lunchtime. Issei, Moka and Yukari were in the cafeteria and ate lunch together and thanked them for helping her from getting her face clawed by her class president and introduced herself to them. Moka. I've heard about you. Supposedly you're in the same year as us, only 4 years younger. Issei. So you skipped a few grades or something? He asked before eating a ribeye steak. Moka. Wow, I guess that means you're really smart, huh, Yukari? Not to mention how pretty your outfit is. Yukari waved her hand, saying that it isn't true and that Moka is the pretty one here. Yukari. And the truth is I. Moka and Issei. They hummed till Issei ate more rice. Yukari. I just love you, Moka. She said and jumped onto Moka, knocking her to the floor, and Issei looked down and spat out his food, and his nose flinched a bit and one drop of blood came out of his nostril, then a river, so he had to cover his nose from the scene. His eyes are seeing that Yukari was groping Moka's breasts in joy. Yukari. Sometimes when I see you in the hall I would fall for you more and more each time, but since you saved me just now, I've made up my mind that you're the one. Moka's eyes widened in shock and her cheeks turned red. Moka. Oh, what do you mean, the one? Yukari sat on top of Moka's abdomen. Yukari. Be with me. Please be my girlfriend. That statement shocked Issei and Moka, while her breast was still being groped by the petite girl, and tried to speak and said if she meant girlfriends, then she would making Yukari happy, and groped Moka more. After lunch. Moka was walking in the hallway with Yukari groping her breasts, and the students in the hallway looked at this with their cheeks flushed red. Moka tried to tell Yukari to stop groping her breasts, but Yukari complimented Moka's breasts being bigger than they looked, while others were disbelief of what was happening before their very eyes. Yukari then said that she's flat as a pancake and that Moka's is a dream come true. Moka blushed as she began to feel weak from all the groping, and Issei came around the corner running. Issei. You better stop doing that. Yukari. I knew you were bound to show up at some point. She said with dissatisfaction. Yukari. Issei Aono, grades are good. Athletic abilities amazing. No particular interest or skill. She said, still groping Moka. Yukari. You're a great guy and many girls wouldn't mind having you as their boyfriend, but Moka is mine and I don't want her to be with the likes of you. Issei then heard Yukari's voice saying, the likes of you many times as he sees a naked Moka and Yukari embracing each other. She then let go of Moka and she had declared war upon Issei. Issei laughed at this. Issei. Do you really think you can do that? Yukari spun her wand around chanting a spell and the closet that had the cleaning supplies burst open and the supplies went to attack. Moka screamed his name, but he smirked at this. Issei. Futile effort. Once they were within a 5-meter range he used his hand to form a fireball and destroyed the supplies, shocking the girl. Issei. Since you're using a wand and wearing that outfit, you're a witch. Yukari shook her head and tried to say that if any boy, especially Issei, were to go near Moka, would get kicked away by her magic. She got scared by his aura and threw the cupboard that had the supplies at Issei, hitting his cheek in surprise and a bruise formed on his face, and Yukari ran away with Moka. Moka. Issei. Away from them was the 3 males from Yukari's class. Male 2. That guy revealing her monster identity is definitely against school rules. Class president. Looks like you pushed your luck a little too far this time, Miss Brett. In the infirmary. By the time Issei entered the infirmary the bruise was gone and he happened to have met Kurumu. While walking there and she saw the look on Issei's face and they went into the infirmary together. Kurumu. So what's up? Issei. Sigh that Yukari girl, I don't know what to do. Kurumu stood up and held onto the curtain. Kurumu. What the hell? Here we are in the very next episode right after my big debut and you can't get around to me any sooner than this. Kurumu sat next to Issei on the infirmary bed. Kurumu. At any rate to him. It sounds like you had a bit of a scuff, Issei. Issei. Yeah, because of that witch I can't even get close to Moka at this point. He let out a groan and Kurumu looked to her left and celebrated Issei not getting close to Moka and thanked Yukari Sendo. Kurumu then got onto the bed in a seductive way. Kurumu. When it comes to that girl, I've heard a few things myself. Issei. You too, Kurumu. Issei jumped in surprise as he saw Kurumu on her hands and knees. Kurumu. She's supposedly this girl genius, but apparently she's still really childish and bratty. They say everyone in her class hates her guts. She finished crawling to him and stopped by his thighs. Issei. Oh, really? Kurumu. I think she's probably just really full of herself because she's so smart. She crawled closer with bust bouncing around with every step she took, making Issei blush a bit. While Kurumu was getting closer to Issei, Yukari was outside by the window singing that she'll beat him so bad he'll never get up, and she brought out a magic voodoo doll and put a strand of Issei's hair inside the doll. Yukari looked into the window expecting the doll to work. It did as she made the doll punch his face, but instead he dodged the punch, but didn't expect another punch to come around, and he hit himself, knocking him to the pillow of the bed. Yukari laughed at this and used the doll to make Issei grope Kurumu's breasts, and he did, making her moan a bit before he heard footsteps by the door and covered Kurumu's mouth and used a magic circle to escape the room and go to his form room. Just by a millisecond Moka opened the door and she heard laughter and saw Yukari with a doll on her hand. Moka. Yukari. With Kurumu and Issei. Issei's magic circle appeared in himself and Kurumu landed on his bed. After getting his bearings back he blushed at what he and Kurumu were doing. Issei being on top and his knee being up Kurumu's skirt and his upon her breast, squeezing them. Ddraig. Haha. Boy. Ddraig chuckled mentally. Kurumu got her bearings back and put her head up but felt something touch her breasts and she opened her eyes and saw the forest green eyes of Issei Aono and his hands on her chest. They tried to speak a word but were interrupted by the voice of an angry Moka Akashiya. The two ran back to the infirmary and Issei saw Yukari with a doll in her hand. In an empty classroom. Issei. I really gotta do something about this girl. I've had it up to here with her. He shouted. Kurumu. Well, she's not really bothering me any. She said with her hand on her cheek. Yukari stood behind Moka with her tongue out. Moka. Come on, Issei. Yukari's just a little kid. Issei. That really isn't an excuse for that kind of behavior. She's gotta learn that she can't go around messing with monsters that could kill her. And we're not doing her any favors by not teaching her. Kurumu and Moka's face showed understanding to what Issei said about Yukari. Moka. I suppose you're right, but… Moka looked at Yukari with sadness. Issei. Listen here, Yukari. If you keep doing that kind of thing, no one, and I mean no one's gonna like you anymore, and before long, you're gonna end up dead. He said as he folded his arms, being serious. Yukari. I don't care. I'm a genius. If people aren't at my level, I'd rather not be friends with them anyway. And besides. Issei. Yukari. And besides, I've been all alone from the start. Issei. Yukari. Issei had the feeling something's going to hit his head and he grabbed a metal teapot, a tub and a cup and crushed them with his hands and threw the crumpled up metal pile onto the ground in anger, cracking the floor as Yukari laughed and she ran out the class and 2 male students felt the ground shake as Issei ripped the door of its rail and was about to grab Yukari for doing that, but Moka grabbed his wrist. Moka. Calm down, Issei. You can't just go losing your temper with a little kid like that. Issei swung his arm, making Moka lose her grip on his wrist and formed his hands into a fist. Issei. What about you, Moka? You need to stop hanging around with that little brat. He shouted in anger. Moka. But Issei. But Yukari. Yukari ran through the halls laughing, and then people's voices started to speak with the eyes covered by their bangs, saying things like, she's a witch, how'd they get stuck with a girl like that in their class? Then the image of students in Yukari's class stood at the back of the class away from her, saying that she's trying to flirt with all the gross pedo guys in class on purpose and isn't pulling the wool over men's eyes just part and parcel of being a witch. Even the males saying how a snot-nosed kid like her doesn't even interest them in the slightest and how witches are closer to humans than they are monsters. There being absolutely no reason that she should even be in a school meant for full-blooded monsters and that the reason she's good at school is because she uses her magic. Her laughter stops and so does her movement as she is outside of the school building and the wind blowing in utter silence. Yukari. Even if I'm all alone, I don't care. She then got pushed to the ground by someone as she winced in pain and asked why the idiot didn't watch where they were walking. Class president. Well, I suppose compared to you I am something of an idiot, but… That voice made her stop her rant and looked up to see the class president's figure in front of her, and then the other 2 lackeys stood next to the class president. Veil 2. There she is. The girl who believes she's all high and mighty and basically revealed her monster identity. Bad boy. Look how you've gone and made our class president angry. Yukari. That doesn't have anything to do with you guys. Class president. Oh, but it does, you see. They surrounded her, and the class president lifted her up by her wrist, making her scream in pain. Class president. Whenever a student does something to disrupt class discipline, then it falls to us to crack down hard on them and teach them what's what, see? But Issei, Moka and Kurumu. Issei. My point is, Moka, you're just way too lenient when it comes to Yukari. Moka. But still, when you stop and think about how she must feel. Issei. If that's the way you see it, then what about my feelings? I'm the one who is getting irritated here the most, and if it goes too far I could end up in a raged state and I would endanger everyone in this school. Moka. That's not what I'm talking about. Issei, how come you of all people can't give her the benefit of the doubt? Think of what it's like for poor Yukari. Issei. Why should I? Making Issei think of his past self and how his peeping on the girls' locker rooms made basically everyone hate his guts, but he didn't care at the time, but he felt kind of lonely when that happened, and that if he did it even more, he would have been killed by the kendo girls and no one except his former parents would care. The thought made him bite his lip in anger and he looked towards Moka. Moka. Don't you even feel the least bit sorry for her? I just can't give up on her. She finished running out of the class and closing the door, leaving Issei with his arm out and Kurumu standing by the chalkboard. Kurumu. Well, but she did say she didn't care whether people liked her or not. That's just so like a witch, isn't it? Issei. What could you possibly mean by that? Kurumu lifted her head up and said in shock. Kurumu. You don't know about witches. Look, witches are halfway between monsters and humans, and not really either one, right? A long time ago, people used to call witches the link between monsters and humans, but at this point, everyone just says they're nothing but half monsters. Issei. Half monsters. Kurumu. And plus, even in the human world back in the day they used to have witch hunts and witch trials and things like that. So they were definitely hated. There just isn't any place where she can feel accepted. So you know, I think she probably was truly alone. Issei. That was just like me. He looked at the ground and Kurumu had her happy personality come back. Kurumu. Oh, come on. You've always got me, don't you, Issei? She was about to hug him, but he ran out of the class. Kurumu. Wait. But Yukari. Yukari is in the foggy part of the forest away from the school and was thrown against a tree with a thump. Yukari. Owie. What's the big idea? Veil 2. Owie, your stupid Owie is giving my ear an Owie. Bad boy. What a disgusting voice. Class president. Yeah, disgusting is the right word. Disgusting. The 3 males transformed into their monster forms, being large green humanoid lizards, lizardmen to be more specific, walked towards Yukari. Class president. We have no need for some disgusting little snot-nosed shrimp-ass punk bitch, and there's no place for no one like you in our class. Yukari's eyes widen as she heard the voices of students saying that they wished they didn't have her in their class. Flashback. Yukari was walking to her class and stopped as she heard 3 female students say things like, "We could do without her on our class," and that "try realizing you're a total pain in the neck for everyone." Making her sad as she raised her wand in the air, and the girl's skirt fell to the floor one by one, and they stopped laughing as they saw their skirts were off and screamed in embarrassment, not knowing that it was Yukari who did it. Yukari. He serves you right. They girls heard her laughter and they fell over the suitcase toppling over each other. Girl. That was just mean. Now I can see why everyone hates you, you dirty witch girl. Yukari turned around and said that she did even want to be liked by stupid girls like them, and stuck her tongue out at them. End of flashback. Class president. Cat got your tongue or something. Yukari looked at them and chanted a spell, but was cut off when the class president used his sharp teeth and broke the top of her wand into pieces, leaving Yukari in disbelief, and the lizardman laughed. Yukari. He ate my magic wand. Class president. Spits out pieces of the wand. Ugh, that was ick. That wand tasted terrible. Veil 2. So what do we do with this one? Bad boy. I say we should eat her. There's plenty of fog, so there's no way anyone'd see us. Class president. Sticking his tongue out, that's a good idea. She's a little pubescent runt, but at least she'll take the bad taste out of my mouth. Yukari was scared of what was going to happen to her and screamed for help, and that help arrived. Moka. Move away from her this instant. The lizardman looked at Moka, who balled her fists. Class president. What the? Not you again. Veil 2. Let's eat this one along with the other one. He exclaimed, and so did the fat boy. Class president. I gotta admit, this one looks pretty damn tasty. All plump and juicy, and most of all she's got the ba ba boom and the woo-oh and the ba bang. Yukari shouted at Moka to not worry about her and just run to save herself, and said that these guys are a joke as far as monsters go, and thought she could handle them by herself. Moka. You've gotta stop doing that, Yukari. Yukari opened her eyes, and Moka began walking to her and past the lizardman. Moka. If you're scared, there's nothing wrong with asking others for help. The lizardmen put their arms down looking at each other, and Yukari stared into Moka's eyes. Moka. Try being honest with yourself, Yukari. Yukari puts her head down. Yukari. But I. Moka. There's no reason to push yourself so hard and try to bite off more than you can chew. Crouching to Yukari's height, you're still just a little girl, Yukari. You have to learn to be more honest. Yukari. Rubs a tear from her eyes, but I'm not pushing myself too hard. Moka. The truth is, you've been a lonely little girl, isn't that right? If you're lonely and if it's hard being all alone, then why don't you just say so? Yukari looks down to the ground again and looks back to Moka's beautiful face. Moka. I was the same, I was all alone for the longest time. Yukari. You too, Moka. Moka smiles and closes her eyes and had tears form on the corners of her eyes, making Yukari feel bad. Moka. That's why I just can't give up on you. Opens her eyes. I wanna help you and be there for you, Yukari. Moka holds Yukari's hands as she cried. Yukari. Moka. Moka held the young girl and embraced her in a hug as she cried on Moka's shoulder. The lizardman sweated this. Veil 2. Hey. Those girls just up and entered their own world there. Bad boy. What are we, chopped liver or something? Class president. We won't stand for it. You hear me, we're not gonna stand for it. And since we won't stand for it, I think it's high time we went over and swallowed that luscious body hole. They lunged towards the two girls, and Yukari bit her class president's tail, and he was about to slash her. A figure just caught Yukari at blazing speeds. She looked up and saw that it was Issei, and she didn't get why he was there at all. Issei. I really wanted to tell you that I'm sorry about before. I get what you meant, I knew what it was to be all alone. Yukari then began to hit him softly, saying that he's lying and that he didn't know anything. But he winced a bit as steam was sizzling on his back as the slash from the lizardman healed up. Issei. So please. I want to help you by beating these guys, okay? Yukari blushed at this. Class president. Alright, enough, you guys. For the last few minutes it's been nothing but cheap melodrama on parade. This is absolutely ridiculous. The second lizardman and the fat boy ran towards Issei with the intent to kill him and Yukari. Moka shouts towards Issei and Yukari in worry. But their attack didn't connect as they looked in the air and saw Issei with huge red wings holding Yukari in his arms and Kurumu beside him in the air, and they descended to the ground grouped up with Moka. Veil 2. Oh, geez, not another unwanted do-gooder. Bad boy. At this point, let's just round him up and eat every last one of them. Issei. If you want to come try me. Cracks neck, I've got all day. Yukari. Issei. Kurumu. Ouya, Issei be my protector too. Class president. Time for dinner. Both. Hell yeah. Issei. Looks at the rosary, you ready? The rosario upon Moka's breast glowed in a bright light as Issei took it off Moka's neck, a bright pink glow blinding all. The monster power was tremendous, turning the land and sky into dark red, and the moon shone a crimson red as bats flew into Moka's body, and she transformed into Inner Moka. Inner Moka. Get back, useless ebikits. Yukari was amazed at Moka's true form. Class president. GGG, getting your hair dyed is totally against school rules, and do is that short skirt. Issei transformed as well with his power shining in a bright green, and his hair turned blood red, and his eyes glowed in green with his fangs bare, his body turned into red scales except his face. Issei and Moka speed blitz to the lizardman with Issei kicking the fat boy and Moka kicking male 2 in the abdomen, knocking them out into the air and hang on the branch of some nearby tree. Yukari. A legendary supermonster, a vampire. And a super legendary supermonster, a dragon. Class president. They knocked him out just like that. I just can't see them. What the hell just happened? Inner Moka. The only way you pathetic losers wield any power is by ganging up on the weak. Issei. You're not even worth my time. The two said behind the lizardman, and he backed away and turned to face the two. Class president. Having that kind of strength is against school rules. He shouted as he lunged towards them with his jaw open to bite. Inner Moka. Time for you, broke his teeth to cool your head, halfway from breaking all his teeth in the drink. The kick broke all of his teeth. He flew past Yukari and Kurumu so fast that he hit the water. Once he hit the water again once more, before hitting a log, breaking it into splinters, and descended deep onto the river. Class president, I'll make sure I cool it thoroughly, ma'am. Back on the surface. Issei. That was an amazing kick, Moka. He said, transforming into his normal form in green light. Yukari. Why though? Issei. Huh. What do you mean? Yukari. I was so bad and did such mean things to everyone. Issei. You really didn't listen. Yukari looked at Issei. Issei. We all want to be there for you and help you out. Making Yukari's eyes widen, so Yukari, you're not alone anymore. Yukari then looked towards Inner Moka, who had her arms folded looking in the opposite direction. Issei and Kurumu smiled at Yukari, and she could help but cry. A few days later. Moka and Kurumu were in the hallway carrying boxes while conversing with each other. Kurumu. About Yukari, I hear she completely cleaned up her act after that. Apparently, she got up in front of the whole class and apologized to everyone for all the dirty tricks she pulled. After that, the rest of the class started feeling guilty for all the things they said about her. Arriving at their class, little by little they're starting to open up to her. She opens the door and they enter the class. Moka. That's so great. Upon entering the class they saw Yukari embracing Issei. Yukari. Oh, Issei. I just love you to pieces. Issei was just standing there while the little witch hugged his waist. Kurumu and Moka dropped the boxes in disbelief. Moka. Yukari. Issei and Yukari look towards the entrance of the class and see Moka and Kurumu standing there. Yukari. Oh, hi, you guys. Our classrooms are right next door to each other, so please let me come and play sometimes. Moka. Come and play? She asked in confusion. Yukari. Because I already love you, Moka, and on top of that I've fallen in love with Issei too. Kurumu had a vein pulsing on her forehead, and Moka was confused and let out a Yukari. When I got swooped up by Issei that time, somehow it just felt like the scent of adulthood washed over me. Issei tries to pull Yukari, but is scared of hurting her. What I mean is, I want him to either keep swooping me up like that or push me down over and over. Issei. I really don't think that's such a good idea. An all-out fight for Issei being theirs broke out among the girls, and Issei was in a tug-of-war between Yukari and Kurumu, and then got his neck bitten by Moka. Issei. Not this shit again. Ooh. That's it guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.